Today we'll be ranking the albums by Bruce Dickinson. I will just be doing his solo albums, and I will also be doing them in chronological order. I saw a few other channels do it in this style, such as Metal Never Dies with Mark Aruda and Metalben's Chronicles. So shout out to those channels. Give them a sub. I have 7 albums, and I will be including the new one called the Mandrake Project. First one is Tattooed Millionaire, released on May 8th, 1990. I bought this one on CD when it came out, and I used to like it, but it has not aged that well. This was Bruce going for a glam metal sound. This was also the topic of an episode of Is It That Bad on the Chill Dude on the Couch's channel. So that should tell you where I will be ranking it. He was still in Iron Maiden when he made this. I think the first and last tracks are not too bad. It opens with Son of a Gun and ends with No Lies, the latter being the most Maiden sounding on the album. There's the title track, which is allegedly about Nikki Sixx after having sex with Bruce's wife. That was at the time. Then there's Born in 58, that's like a Bruce Springsteen song. Then the song Dive, Dive, Dive has some of the cringiest lyrics I've ever heard. Other songs sound derivative of bands like Aerosmith and AC/DC. Overall, not good. I rank this at number 7. Next is Balls to Picasso. This was released on June 6, 1994. This was his first solo album after leaving Iron Maiden. This one is better than Tattooed Millionaire. This also has the first of many collaborations with guitarist Roy Z. I like the opening track Cyclops with the phase-shifting guitar effects. The song Hell No was a catchy song. It had a grunge sound, something he would do more of on the next album. Gods of War was a song that was a mix of traditional heavy metal and some jazz. 1,000 Points of Light was like some alternative metal. There were 2 ballads. One was Change of Heart, which was not too bad, and the other was Tears of a Dragon, which was one of the more popular songs from this album. There's one song that sounds like a leftover from Tattooed Millionaire, which is Shoot All the Clowns. That one was not good, but otherwise it's a solid album, and I rank this at number 4. Next is Skunk Works, released on February 19, 1996. This was his attempt at doing an alternative rock album. He even used his Balls to Picasso touring band, and he wanted to have this separate band, but the label wanted it to be released under the Bruce Dickinson name. I thought it was not too bad. It's the kind of album that doesn't have anything bad on it, but at the same time, most of the songs were kind of forgettable. The opening track is called Space Race. That sounds like a typical grunge song from that time period, maybe similar to something Pearl Jam would put out. Inertia was not too bad. That one had a very big chorus and was one of the more memorable songs. The song Faith was the closest thing to a metal song. I thought that was not too bad. There were a few songs that sounded like Soundgarden, such as the mellow song of Dream State, where Bruce tries to emulate Chris Cornell, and the song Head Switch, which sounded something that could have been on the Bad Motorfinger album. Overall, this is not great, but it's not terrible. I rank it at number 6. Next is Accident of Birth. This one came out a year later. It was released on June 3rd, 1997. He decided that the Skunk Works project was a bad idea, so he went back to collaborating with Roy Z. That was a good idea because this is a solid album. The album has Adrian Smith, who would join Bruce in a return to Iron Maiden in 1999. The album opens with Freak, and you can immediately hear the return to that heavy metal sound. This is followed by the short, trippy instrumental called Toltec 7 Arrival, which serves as an intro to Star Children, which is a catchy heavy metal song. I like the guitar riff on Star Children and the almost like industrial style drum beats. There are a few power ballads. The first power ballad is called Taking the Queen. This one mixes soft acoustic guitars with heavy guitar riffs. Dark Side of Aquarius is a great song with a very memorable chorus. There is Road to Hell, which kind of had that Fear of the Dark era Iron Maiden type of sound. There was another ballad called Man of Sorrows, which is also one of his most popular solo songs. The title track, Accident of Birth, is a heavy song that has some industrial drum beats. This is a solid album from start to finish, and this is my number 1 album. Next is The Chemical Wedding. This one was released on September 15, 1998. Came out a little over a year after the previous album, Accident at Birth. This is a dark album. It was inspired by the works of William Blake. The cover was actually painted by William Blake as well. The album features Roy Z and Adrian Smith, and this is the last album before Adrian and Bruce returned to Iron Maiden. The album opens with a very heavy track called King in Crimson. This is followed by the title track, which is another very heavy song, also features some cleaner guitars and some very dark tones. Then there is The Tower. This is a song mixing some traditional heavy metal, a little bit of alternative rock, and also a very catchy song. There's also the Book of Thera, which is an 8-minute epic track, maybe reminiscent of what Iron Maiden would be doing in the 2000s. The song has some excellent drumming. Then there's Jerusalem, which is another very epic track. That was one of the more laid-back tracks, but Bruce has some soaring vocals on this one. The album ends with The Alchemist. That's a track that uses some interesting guitar tones. It's a very epic song, and it ends the album off nicely. I rank this one at number 2. Next is Tyranny of Souls, the 6th studio album released on May 23rd, 2005. The cover art is one of the panels of Earthly Vanity and Divine Salvation, a work by Renaissance artist Hans Memling. This was his first solo album since rejoining Iron Maiden in 1999, and the last one for 19 years when he released the Mandrake Project, or the new one. The album was written by both Bruce Dickinson and Roy Z. Bruce was on tour with Iron Maiden at the time. Roy Z would send Bruce these riffs, and Bruce would be on tour, and he would receive them, and then they would kind of go back and forth, and that's how they wrote the album. The opening track is called Abduction. This one continues with a sound similar to the previous album. It's a traditional heavy metal song with some nice melodies. Then there's Soul Intruders, which is a heavy song. It has an almost thrash metal type of vibe. Then there's Kill Devil Hill, which is a dark and epic sounding track about the Wright brothers and their first flight. There's also a ballad called Navigate the Seas of the Sun. This is a very catchy song with acoustic guitars, and lyrics are about the theory of extraterrestrial life on Earth before humans. There's also The River of No Return. This is another heavy metal song. It uses some interesting futuristic sounding guitar tones. The album ends with the title track called Tyranny of Souls. And this one has some Iron Maiden vibes, but it gets a lot heavier than Maiden has ever been, and a great way to end the album. I rank this one at number 3. Now we have the Mandrake Project that was released on March 1st, 2024. This was his first album since Tyranny of Souls from 2005. I just did a review of this one. It was a very divisive album amongst all the reviewers. A lot of people didn't like it. I thought it was good. It had some problems. I felt the last 2 songs dragged on a little bit, but in general, I thought the front half of the album was pretty strong. I thought the album had a very good opening with Afterglow of Ragnarok, then Many Doors of Hell and Rain on the Graves. I thought those were 3 solid songs. The next 2 songs were pretty good. Resurrection Men and Fingers in the Wounds, I like those ones, and they were a little reminiscent of like modern Iron Maiden. Then there is Eternity Has Failed, which I have been corrected because in my original review I said it was a different version of If Eternity Should Fail, but it's actually the original version. It's very similar to the one from Book of Souls, but still a good song. The next few songs were pretty good. Mistress of Mercy and Face in the Mirror, those were decent tracks. And then after this, there's 2 long songs which span like 15 minutes. They kind of start to drag the album. Shadow of the Gods and Sonata Immortal Beloved. And otherwise, it was decent, and I rank it at number 5. So that is all. Here's my ranking of the Bruce Dickinson solo albums in order. I'm going to let this scroll on my screen while I end this video. So take a look at that and check out my review of the Mandrake Project. I'm going to put that right here. Thanks for watching. Please like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already. I do rock and metal reviews. I do rankings, and I do a lot more different stuff. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.